Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your host, Nicole
and Hannah. Come join us for some hopeful conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing.
Hey, Hallmarkies, Hearties, and Sleuthers. We're back for another episode, and today we're chatting with the wonderful and incredibly talented Madison Smith. Welcome to the podcast, Madison.
Hi, everybody.
Our first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get your start in acting, and what inspired you to become an actor?
So I got my start in life, I guess, in sports. My parents put me in baseball in the summer, hockey in the winter. I'm a Canadian boy, so of course I played hockey. At some points, you played hockey all year. And sort of after, high school sports were done, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it was my mom, actually. She suggested, why don't I give acting a shot? So packed my bags, moved to the city of Vancouver and joined an acting program. And I guess the rest is sort of history. I had a few years of not a lot happening, and that slowly picked up here and there. And it's been a decision that I've never regretted. It's just been a really fun thing. I think it's even a fun thing to struggle at. Sometimes I think when you pursue a dream, no matter what, it's going to be difficult. But I think acting has that ability to be fun even when it's difficult. So that's where I got started.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And I'm big on sports too.
Nice. I miss sports. If somebody once asked me if I could be, like in movies or in like the major leagues, which would I pick? And I still could not tell you which one I would go with. It is the toughest question. Like, people have been like, what would you rather, this or that? That is my hardest this or that question. Would I rather be like super successful actor or super successful athlete? Ugh, don't ask me. It's yeah. I always should move on.
Yeah. Right. I haven't played in a long time, but I still do enjoy playing. I've played golf since I was in 6th or 7th grade. And then, I went to an all-girls school from kindergarten to 9th grade. Mm-hmm. And I was on the golf team in 9th grade. So of course it was all girls at that point. But then I transferred to a co-ed school for 10th, 11th, and 12th. And there I continued golf. And then I was on the cheerleading squad as well.
Nice combo. And I mean, after watching Cheer on Netflix, I do know that cheer is absolutely a sport. That is a difficult thing that I could not do. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, right. We never did competitive when I was there. We just did football and basketball. But
gotcha.
After I graduated, I think my school started to do competitive as well.
So you missed the boat just a little.
Just a little bit. Ugh. But it was still fun. I had a good time, and we were all close. So that's good.
If only you go back in time and just like, fudge the numbers on your birth certificate and just be like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
So what was your first big role? Was that role in TV, theater, or film?
My first role in kind of anything I actually got through the radio station in my hometown of Kelowna, British Columbia. An ex-girlfriend of mine, I was living in Vancouver at the time, and my ex in Kelowna had heard on the radio. She knew I was trying acting. She heard on the radio that they're filming a town and they want people to email in and see if they want to be a part of the show. They were looking for guys who looked somewhat similar to Grant Gustin, the guy who plays the Flash on the CW. So she heard this. She sent me the info. I looked online. I sent in my information, and they messaged me back almost right away. And they're like, Madison, we think you look very close, but we've already cast the role, unfortunately. But you do look really similar. It's too bad. So I get the message. It's nice. Move on. I get a message another 30 minutes later, and they said, actually, Madison, we think you look too much like Grant Gustin. We'd like you to put this on tape so we can see like how you are. So I put it on tape, but I didn't have a good setup at the time. This is early on. This is before like acting was a lot of self tapes. So I did it on my old HP laptop that was like, if you did webcam, you couldn't tell who you were talking to. I did my audition on there, sent it in. They were like, it's a little grainy. Do you have anything else? I send every self tape I've ever done. One was for the Power Rangers. Like not Power Rangers the movie. I mean like Power Rangers like Dino Force 3 or whatever. Like it was I sent everything. And they go, "Oh, Madison, this sounds great. We're really excited. We'd like to offer you this role." That day I was already going to a friend's sort of like housewarming party and got into a car accident on the way there.
Oh wow.
I was in the passenger seat. I was okay. Actually, one of the funny stories about it is I used to wear like a big faced watch and I didn't that day. And when I got into the crash, I put my hands up and the airbag hit my hand and my teeth hit where my watch would have been. But luckily I wasn't wearing my watch that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then I get to this party because we're fine. They tow it away. We're okay. I get to the party and they go, "Okay, Madison, we're really excited. Can you send us a selfie of you so we know what you look like right now?" And I had a fat lip from the accident. So I had to, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody do like a selfie where they have to kind of like show their best angles, but I was doing that, trying to hide the fat lip. So I was like, it looked like I was doing a real big pose where I was like, ooh, but I was just really trying to hide where I had like hurt myself.
Yeah.
And so I booked, that was my very first role. And it'll always sort of go down in history as the greatest bad day ever.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. That in itself could be a movie. Like that is so funny.
Yeah.
So we were heading to a party.
Yeah.
And we had picked up pizza and watermelon, two things that like don't go together exactly. But I mean, if you're going to a party, you need everything. So we picked up pizza and a watermelon. The way we crashed into a like a light pole, and the watermelon like flew forward and exploded. So it looked like at first I thought there was blood everywhere. Oh man. And it was just watermelon.
Oh
and then,
man.
The pizza was directly behind me and it didn't fly around, but it did get stuck in the front of the box. So we're waiting for emergency services to come. And I'm hungry because I was excited to get to this party and eat the pizza. So I opened the pizza box and it's all like squished and to the front of the box. And like I said, I'm hungry, so I sort of flattened some out, and I'm now eating little slices of pizza. And the emergency services finally show up, and the ambulance comes, and they're checking out my friend who was driving. And then the firefighters say to the ambulance, they go, "Oh, by the way, he was in the car too." And they turn to me, and I'm like mid-slice eating, and they go, "He's fine. He's eating pizza." I was like, I mean, maybe I'm in shock. I don't know.
Right. Sure.
And they're like, "We'll check you out in a minute." And I was like, all right. So it was a very weird, funny day. But like I said, best bad day ever.
Oh my goodness.
That's hilarious. Like not good, but hilarious.
No.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh,
that's great.
It was luckily everybody walked out. No injuries, nobody was hurt. So it would end up being like a terrible thing that had no bad consequences. It was an okay thing. Everybody walked away. No pedestrians were hurt.
Yes.
Nobody in the car was hurt. So it was more of a funny story.
Right. Exactly. That's
amazing. We're glad that y'all are all okay.
So that's how my first role ever came up. Is I booked it somehow through an ex-girlfriend in a town I didn't live in on the day I got into a car accident.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That story kind of reminds me a little bit. You were talking about your injured lip. On the day before my first grade play, my mom and my dad and we had gone out to dinner at one of the restaurants that was just opening up. And funny, this is actually where I ended up working for a part-time job my senior year in high school. But the day before my first grade play, I was so excited and I was running on the sidewalk and I tripped over one of the cracks and I busted my lip.
Oh no.
For my first grade.
Amazing. And everybody's like, whoa, she did like a cool accent in this play. Like in first grade, she's doing an accent. And you're like, no, I just have a fat lip.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you go back and watch the video my dad took of the play, you can see me like trying to cover it up the whole time.
Oh, hilarious. I love that.
It's funny.
Do you prefer episodic TV or made for TV movies?
It's a toss up because I love being in episodic TV. You get to sort of build a family over the course of the time of filming. Like when I did Salvation, I did 9 of 11 episodes, and I got to be with people for 4 or 5 months. So it was really cool to get to know everybody, get to be excited to see people. And the difference between that and like made for TV movies is you film them in about 3 weeks. So you get really close really fast, but then it kind of ends and you get to see people hopefully on the next one. But that's the one thing that I really do like about when you're doing episodic. I mean, the work ends up being somewhat the same. Your episodes of a TV show are around the same amount of time it takes to film a made for TV movie. So if say Nikki Nora took 15 days to shoot, an episode of a TV show usually takes about 12. So it's about the same amount of time, but when you're doing 10 to 20 episodes of a show, that takes place over a long amount of time, but you get to see the same people. You see wardrobe multiple times. You really know like hair and makeup, like everything about them. You end up becoming a little family. So that's the thing that I really like about it. The work, I love being on any show that wants me to be on it. So that's exciting always. But I'd say the family aspect of episodic is the thing I like the best.
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense, because I feel like if you're like working on a movie, like you said, you only get that specific amount of time with them, and then you don't know if you're going to get to work with those people again. Versus the episodes, you get a little bit more time with people, so you really get to know them. So yeah,
100%. And then you're no longer trying to like make a good impression, because in 15 days you always want to make sure that everything you're saying is the right thing. You never want anybody to not like you. By the time you're on like episode 3, 4, 5 with a person, you just like don't talk for 2 hours, and then you go like, do you think chia seeds are good? And then you're like randomly talking about it. It just is like, you don't need to have a conversation starter. It's just like the conversation picks up from last time.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny. So we know your first role on Hallmark was in the movie Garage Sale Mystery, The Wedding Dress, where you played a character named Tyler Burgess. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how you got that role?
Absolutely. That was just a nice little audition, and it was my first time getting to work for Peter DeLuise. Peter DeLuise is big director and producer on When Calls the Heart now. At that time, he had done, I think, a few Hallmarks, and so he was really building his name there. So it was really cool to work with him early on. I recognized Peter from 21 Jump Street. I recognized him from Friends. He was in an episode of Friends, and I remember seeing him and I was like, oh my gosh, he was in an episode. Like, that was just very cool. So it was just classic audition, go in, do the thing. I found out I booked it, which was really exciting. I got to work with the first time getting to work with somebody that I recognized. So like, I had never up until that point worked with a cast member who I had seen on TV. So not only had seen Peter, but I'd seen Lori, obviously, and like Full House and stuff. So that was really cool. It was where I immediately realized how different I am than like someone who is famous. I remember like her telling me about like what she did that weekend and like the people that she was hanging out with. And I was like, oh, cool. I was serving food to people I don't know at their restaurants. And you were seeing that cool person and that cool person. It was pretty exciting. But yeah, it was a awesome experience. It was, I think, the first time I got to do multiple days on a show as well. And I was really happy with how it turned out. I just thought it was cool. So it was also very cool. I'm sure this is a question for later, but I got to see Lori again on When Calls the Heart, and it was like kind of cool to see her again, and she recognized me. So again, that felt kind of cool. I was like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Right.
Garage Sale Mystery is one of my favorite mystery series. I'm sad that they discontinued it or stopped
definitely
filming it.
Yeah.
So
We'll see what happens. I mean, the world's always changing, and could be more, could be more that come up. But they were, it was a fun one to be on. I got to work with a lot of people that I knew through Vancouver. So that was a very cool, cool one to start, like my Hallmark journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really cool.
and you did a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Got to be they actually gave us spicy food. And there's a scene in it where we're supposed to be eating spicy food, and they actually gave us spicy food, which I think they didn't tell us until we were filming.
Oh no.
So by like take 6, we're like, oh. And then you have to pretend that it's not so spicy as soon as action happens. And I think that's got to be something that Peter decided he was going to mess with us on.
Right. Exactly. I mean, he saw an opportunity. He's like, why not? Let's do it.
Absolutely. Like if I can mess with this kid, it's his first day on a big show. Let's mess with him.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah. That's fun.
One of our favorite shows here on the podcast is When Calls the Heart. In season 3, you played a character named Roy Sampson. But what did you enjoy most about being on that set and working with the cast?
That one was really cool. I mean, I loved working with Willa. As like, I only had one scene with her as my wife, so it was really cool, I think, to have that. But I knew her from before. We had done an episode of Supernatural together, so it was kind of cool to get to do that episode or those episodes together, playing husband and wife. So it didn't make that reunion scene between us awkward or weird, because we had already had a little like acting relationship before, which was great. But I got to have a lot of really fun scenes with Daniel, and it was really cool. It was probably the first time where I got to see, I guess, a pro how to do it. I guess it was I just felt like a sponge back on that set when I got to see how he did things and see the way he built a scene and knew like camera angles, knew about when certain moments were important, knew what wasn't going to be on camera or how to reset when things. So it was really cool to get to see someone who, when you watch the final product, it's always so good, but to see the skills of a person. And I picked up as much as I possibly could. And then I was working with Peter again. Peter was the guy who cast me in those first 2 episodes. And my very first day, I remember it was very cold, and we have the reunion scene where I'm supposed to be like coming up and I say, that's my job. And then there's a reveal and I'm there. So we're running the scene. And this is my favorite thing, because it was my first time with a director, I think, like Peter, who doesn't have like kid gloves for you. When I say that, I mean, like, just tells you what he wants and doesn't tell you like, okay, here's what I think we should try. Like, he just tells you this is what you're going to do. So we're running it, and he's looking at the page, and he goes, and then Roy will be there, and he'll be crying. And I was like I kind of froze, because I was like, I didn't plan on crying today. Okay. So I couldn't go to him and be like, hey, so Mr. Director, I don't know if I want to do it that way. So I was just like, okay. So now I have to like leave, and I'm going to try and like figure out how to get emotional for this scene. And it is the coldest day, but I was from up north in Vancouver, or in Canada. So I'm used to the cold. So they offered me, long johns and thick socks. I was like, I'll be fine. By the end of the day, I think my toes wanted to fall off. They wanted to just run away.
Oh,
So I made a mistake by not taking the thermals that they offered me. So now I'm nervous because he's like, okay, time to cry. And I'm also freezing cold. So I think I just let my body be cold, and that's where the tears came from. So that's that was my fun experience on that. But then, like I said, working with everybody was great. It was just a fun set to be on, and I'm just excited for them because 10 seasons of a show, that's an impressive feat. Anybody who reaches any show, like, that's a testament to the fans, obviously, who's listening right now, and then the people making it. I mean, if you get to be lucky enough to make a show for 10 years or for 10 seasons, that says something. So it's such a really cool thing. And I got to be on, I think, early parts of it, but to see how much it's changed and also remained faithful and the same, it's really cool.
Right. Yeah. What a story. Wow.
Where do you think your character Roy and Edith would be now if we saw them again?
I'd love to see Roy and Edith again. I'd love to see what they're up to. I have, I think we're about 6 years later, I think, in the timeline of the show, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that means that our little guy is running around making trouble. I think, I like to think that after the turmoil that they sort of went through in their relationship, I think that they're making it work, which is really cool in my mind. I mean, who knows? But that's what I like to think, is that that everything's going pretty good. I think they have their struggles, especially in that day and age. But I like to think he's out there trying to be a good guy. I think Jack had a really big impact on him. So to see what he's doing now would be really cool. But I think he's on the right path.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It would be cool to see them back. I'd
love that.
Yeah, I could see Roy working like at the sawmill, like working with Lee and doing something with the sawmill or something like that. And
absolutely, and seeing what it's like to be a young dad right now.
They
were young kids when they had their baby. So to be a young guy, all the guys want to go out to the pub and have a drink after the sawmill, and he's like, no, I've got to go play catch with my kid.
Right. Yeah. No, I could totally see that. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, with it being season 10, it would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to see, it'd be cool to see a lot of the people that sort of came in early in the show and see where they're at, or if the writers have ever even thought, like, hey, we saw that person, we saw them leave. What's their life like right now?
Right, exactly. I take them out of the black hole, bring them back into the show a little bit. That'd be cool.
The black hole.
That would be cool.
Valley black hole.
As they call it. Yep.
Hilarious.
There's a lot of people down there.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people in the black hole. That's 10 seasons of the show. That's what's gonna happen.
Yep.
A lot of times you'll have a person that you're like, okay, well, let's try this story, and then you change your mind. I mean, it happens. Sometimes it just doesn't feed into the general story, and you kind of got to go, was that worth, is that worth seeing through, or do we just kind of like fizzle it out? And it's like, it's like ghosting in a relationship. You're like, I'm just not going to talk about it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I watched the OC. I don't know if I can, my box set is back there, but there's an episode where Ryan played soccer and they never talk about it again. He never plays soccer anymore. It's just untalked about. And I love that. It's almost like what makes shows great is the accidental tries.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. So we know you've also worked on 2 movies with Rachel Leigh Cook. The 2 movies were Frozen in Love and Valentine in the Vineyard. What was it like working with Rachel? And do you have any fun memories from those films?
Absolutely. I mean, getting to work with her and so closely, because I've sort of said, like, I got to work with a few people that I recognized up until that point. But that was like, I had long, like, brother sister scenes with Rachel, so I got to be really close with her in that time. It was very cool. Frozen in Love was just a great experience. And then I think the best memory I have from those 2, as much as like everything was great, I mean, working on Valentine was cool because I got to work with Brendan, who has become a really good friend. Marcus was already a really good friend of mine, so getting to work finally on set with him was awesome. But was my very first day. Rachel was in hair and makeup and basically ran to like say hi to me. So her hair was like in curlers, and she came to give me a big hug to like say that she was excited to see me again. And I was like, this is the coolest. Like it made me excited not only to like get to work with her again, but to get to see her again. Cause you know, everybody, you think that you have these little fun, friendly relationships with people when you meet them the first time. But as we talked about, those 15 days become fast friends, but you also, you know, 20 days ago, you didn't know each other. So it's easy to just not stay in touch. But to get that, like that big hug and like, hello on the second time it made it feel even more special what happened on the first one. Like the fun we got to have on the first one.
Right. That's great.
Yeah, we love those movies, and Rachel is great.
Oh, she is so funny. And I was blown away. Like the stuff that she came up with and did, I was like, yes, you are hilarious. And I think you deserve any and all success that comes to you, because you make me laugh all the time.
I think her first role that I saw was the Nancy Drew movie with Emma Roberts.
Oh, okay.
And Barry Bostwick.
Gotcha. Well, I'm a 90s boy, so I mean, She's All That was something that I knew for sure. And then Josie and the Pussycats. I watched that show way too many times. And so to get to see her, I had so many questions. It's like, so have you ever like sang in movies? And she's like, yeah, I did a show called Josie and the Pussycats. I was like, really? Oh, let me ask you all about it.
Right. That's funny.
That's awesome. You've also worked on projects with Hallmark, such as Falling for You, Right Before Christmas, and just recently, Nikki and Nora. What was your experience like on those sets? And are there any memorable moments to share from filming?
Well, I think for Falling for You, again, working with Peter, like I got so lucky that I got to work with him so many times on these. So if they called and were like, we'd like Madison to do this role, if Peter was attached, I said yes. Like that was just automatic. Because he's such a fun guy to be around. I got to work and be brothers with a really good friend of mine. His name's Matt. He played sort of my rival brother. So that was really fun because we got to riff off of each other. And the coolest thing for that one was Taylor Cole was like my celebrity crush when I was growing up. And then I got to meet her in real life and like work with her and like, and get to know her. And so it was like, I honestly, I sort of was like, did I win the lottery of some sort? Like nobody gets to have a celebrity crush when they're growing up and then meet them. It just doesn't happen. So that was another like easy yes when they were like, hey Madison, we want you to do this role, because it wasn't a major role in Falling for You. I mean, we only sort of show up in and out of like a few scenes. We're kind of these like side comic relief. So not a big role. And so my agent, when I got it, they were like, do you want to do this? It's not huge. And I was like, to work with Peter and Taylor, sign me up.
Yeah.
So I automatically did that. Right Before Christmas is really cool. I got to work with really closely with Lainey McCauley. And that one was very cool for me because we were kind of our own little movie. It was almost like Hallmark's version of like Love Actually, where there was 5 different stories that all kind of connected, but they also were their own little story. So that was quite cool to be on, because me and Lainey had our own little movie. I mean, it was like 1/5 of it. So it was kind of like a 30-minute TV show, but that was like our story. So that felt really cool. Even being a supporting character in that, we definitely felt like we were telling our own story. It got to be feeling like a lead in a movie, even though we weren't the leads. So that was quite cool. And I was really happy with how that one turned out. And then Nikki and Nora, that one, man, I'm pumped for that. That was such a fun one to be on.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't have a bad thing to say about it. I mean, working with Hunter and Rhiannon was just awesome. Yeah, from start to finish. That one was very cool. Like I liked the moment I got to wardrobe fitting to like try on the clothes that Robbie wore. I automatically was like, this is gonna be awesome. I still have like selfies in my cop outfit where I'm like, look at me, I look so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that one, yeah, I was super pumped. I'm really glad and happy with how it turned out. I think people are seeming to like it. That's my general consensus. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy.
Yeah. That was a great one. Speaking of that project, I loved your character, Robbie. I thought you did a wonderful job with his character arc. But what was it like for you to play such a likable character for most of the movie and then to find out at the end that he's actually the bad guy or the killer, the murderer?
It was very exciting. I mean, we talked about it as a cast and as like even with our director Kevin, like it was a first. It felt like, I don't know if it's the first time that Hallmark's done this, but it's not often that it's the love interest that's the bad guy, and it's not often that it's a police officer that's the bad guy. And I ticked off both those boxes. So it was like, it was a very big bait and switch for the show, and it was really cool. So I knew about it from the audition. The audition scene was the scene where I confess. So that was my audition scene. So I knew about it from the beginning, but I also, I wanted to do it in a way where, like, anytime I was playing a scene that was before the reveal, I didn't want to give anything away, especially because the first couple scenes, he hasn't done it yet. The murder happens midway through the film. So the first couple scenes with Robbie are scenes and just where he's done bad stuff in the past, but he's done it for the right reasons in his mind. I got asked about, I talked to Kevin about who Robbie is, and we sort of landed on, like, he's the kind of guy who would steal a loaf of bread to feed his family. So he would break the law for the right reasons. So in his mind, the thing that he did prior to the plot of the script where he, hid evidence or destroyed evidence, he did it so that his niece could have this surgery. And he did it for noble reasons. He thinks, even though I did a bad thing, I did it because I needed to, and it needed to happen. It wasn't for monetary gain. It wasn't because, like, he wanted something out of it. He needed his niece to get this surgery. So that was really cool. And then so playing the other scenes where, he's already done it, I tried to play it off like he was the good guy. But I do still think that when he brings up the murders and when he brings up sort of, anything, if you rewatch it, it's quite nefarious when he shows up. He shows up to her house with Chinese food, and I played it like he was doing the right thing. But if you watch it back, he's coming and asking about her thoughts on it. And then he's also trying to make her think it's not a big deal. When he gets the scar on his head and he's getting talked about, he's like, hey, it's the case is closed. Like, you should move on. And then when he can't get her to move on, and she's like, someone's after me, he then is like, no, you know what? You gotta stop because you're in danger. But he's the danger. So I played everything because it was written so well. I didn't do anything to sort of make it go like, oh, is he bad? I didn't want there to be any moments that you're watching the scene the first time and going, ooh, what was that? Like, was he a bad guy? Is he have something else going on? But when you watch it the second time and you hear what he's saying and not how he's saying it, then you go, oh, Robbie was twisting the knife the whole time.
Right.
It was quite fun to do, because I had to sort of decide what I was doing before we were doing those scenes. I had to go, am I going to add any bit of, like, is he bad? Like, is there going to be any part of him or any part of my performance that showcases that? I had to make the decision, and I sort of chose no. And I think I'm happy with how it turned out.
Oh yeah. I would say it turned out really well. I've seen so many of these mysteries by now, and usually like midway, I know who the murderer is. And this time I remember I was watching it, and there was a moment where I was like, is it Robbie? And I was like, no, no way. No, he's such a likable character.
Impossible.
There's no way. Impossible. So I was just like, I just pushed that thought away. Like, nope, it can't be him. And then at the end I was like, oh man, I wish I was wrong. I wish. It was so good. So good.
It was the same for me. It kept me guessing, but those scenes that you pointed out, I was thinking, is he the murderer? But then I was like, no, it can't
he
be.
cares about Nora. Of course.
I
he's
know.
not a murderer.
Of course not.
It was really fun. I was live tweeting when it was first airing, and the moment that it gets revealed, it was just like 100 tweets that were like Robbie no! exclamation point question mark, and it was just a bunch of those, and I was like, we did it, because that was when you're making a movie. I mean, you're part of a team that's trying to tell a story, and you're trying to bring people on a journey. So to get that reaction from like Twitter was really cool, because it meant we go, okay, we succeeded, we did it, we did what we were hoping and trying to do.
Right. Oh, it was so good. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get to our next question, shout out for the Postables who are possibly listening. We know this movie was directed by Kevin Fair, who has directed a lot of the Signs of Delivered movies. What was it like working with him?
Awesome. I mean, he was really cool. Another guy similar to Peter, who just didn't have kid gloves, just comes up, tells you what he wants, and it's a little bit off-putting at first because you think you're doing something wrong. But the more you sort of think about it, because he'll come up and if you did a take that he wants you to try something else and it didn't work for him, he won't sort of come up to you and go like, hey, so, okay, that was good. I like what you're trying. I like what you're trying. What we want you to try. Like, he doesn't do that. He goes, hey, that didn't work. Try this instead. And then he walks away, and you go, the first time it happens, you're like, does he hate me? And then by the third or fourth day, you go, oh no, actually it's totally different. He trusts me to take his direction, that he doesn't need to like, hold my hand through it. He just goes, hey, here's my direction. And then he thinks you can do it. So it actually, as much as it was off-putting at first, not in a way where like, at first I didn't think he was a nice guy. He was always nice, but there was that little bit where I was like, oh, does he think I'm doing a bad job? But in fact, it was the opposite, where I think he was always just like happy that he could just easily give a direction and then say action. So it was really cool. He was really cool. He seemed really excited about what we were making. So I was really happy to get to work with him.
Yeah, he's a great director. And we loved how Rhiannon, who was in the most recent movie, was in Sister Sleuths as well. So.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And
she's great.
Oh yeah. Her and Hunter together, both of them were they were fantastic.
Oh yeah.
How did you prepare for your role as Officer Robbie Watts? Did you have to do any research prior to filming?
Not too much research at all. I mean, anytime I'm playing someone who I think has a job in which you can recognize as much, I try and sort of like do a little bit of research on the visuals of that person. So when it came to Robbie and like being a uniform officer, it was kind of like, how do they walk? How do they sort of go about their business? What do they do? And then the moment you sort of put on the uniform as well, it definitely gets into your body a little bit more. So I remember seeing like videos of officers walking, and it was a lot of like people walking with their hands either in their like vests or on their belts. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. It's like weird to do. And then I put on the vest and the belt, and I was like, I must walk like this because it's the only thing that feels right.
Yeah.
Like you need to stop the belt from moving, so you hold the belt with your hands. So it was a lot of like visual work ahead of time, seeing like how a police officer sort of carries themselves. And then that was confirmed in the wardrobe. So that's kind of, I guess, the research that they went into Robbie. And there's no time though that Robbie like pulls his weapon. So I didn't have to do too much. Like there was a moment at the end where like I go to reach for it, but I never pull it out. But so there wasn't too much training that needed to get done in terms of making it look right. It was more about the presence that Robbie, I think, had.
Yeah. That's really interesting though, because you don't really think about that, like the way that they carry themselves and like just the fact that you put the costume on, you're like, oh yeah, this seems right. That's really interesting.
It's fun. It's really cool whenever you get to play somebody that has something in them that defines their costume and what it does. Like I played a guy in a show called Aftermath, and he always carried like a semi-automatic rifle because it was like the apocalypse. So he always carried it. So it was really cool to like have that with me and on, because I got to feel like what it was like on me.
Yeah.
Anytime I had to like use it, it was about sort of like I would ask the prop master if I could just carry it around all the time. And it was very fun, like to get to feel like it's part of you, because that's the way everything is. I mean, if you watch somebody who like can flip their pen, like that's something that they can do. They're not like adding that as a character. That's just them living through. So I always like when you can add those little things of just like being real as a human.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So speaking of mysteries, did you watch any mysteries growing up, and do you have a favorite one that you've watched?
Ooh, I mean, I really love like I'm a big fan of like Knives Out that just came out. So the new movie that's gonna be coming out, The Glass Onion, I can't wait for, because a whodunit's always gonna be fun. I think like suspense thrillers are always fun as well. So like The Departed, where it's a bit of a mystery for the characters, but you get to see the mystery unfold. So you know what evidence is. But then, you know, seeing a solid like Agatha Christie kind of like Murder on the Orient Express and shows like that, like I do love when you figure it out. But but for me, that came in TV more than it came from movies. So Psych was always my favorite show, which had a mystery every month or every week. And then Castle, same thing, like where you're solving it. Those are two of like my favorite like buddy cop kind of shows. And those are sort of, I think, my where my mystery sort of fun comes from.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
nice.
That's great. Yeah. And Psych is great.
I loved Psych. Psych was so much fun. It was really cool to be in the final episode because I loved it so much. And I have very fond memories. And like I said, I'm really happy that new people are getting to see Psych, so that it's being shown on Hallmark, and that like new people are getting to go like, this is a great show.
Yeah. If you could choose your dream film project, what would the storyline be, and what kind of character would you play?
What would I pick? I mean, I do love fantasy. Like anytime you get to immerse yourself into something that's a little bit more, you know, outside of this world, whether it's something in space, whether it's something in a fantasy realm. I mean, I'm stuck watching Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones right now, the new shows, and I'm having the most fun like going into those worlds. So I think if I could be in anything, it's something where I get to enter a world that's outside my own. So funny enough, like I loved being on When Calls the Heart because of like the period piece of it. So you get to feel like you're not just showing up and being yourself, you're yourself under these extreme circumstances. So that's what I really do like about the potential of being in something that has fantastical elements, because it's the only time that you get to really go like, what would I do in this really made up scenario? Because you can, if you're doing, you know, Nikki and Nora, as much as it's not me, I'm not a cop, I've never murdered somebody, that is true. Just that anybody's listening. So for that, I have to decide, okay, how am I going to get into the mind of this character? What's he going through? But it is relatively doable to sort of go, okay, this is what I would do in this situation. It's just me with different clothes on. But when you get to do anything fantasy, when you get to do anything period, you have to really explore your imagination. So that's what I like to do. Anytime I get to be in a wardrobe that isn't my own, which I like my clothes, but if they can give me cool ones that are from the future, then let's go.
Right. That's part of the fun of it.
Exactly. It's literally playing dress up. Right,
exactly. That's fun. So when you're given a role, what is your process like learning that script, and how do you prepare to play that character?
I love reading the script kind of a couple times, seeing if I can sort of figure it out. And I think, they'll usually give you a description of what your character and who your character is. So as much as I'll read that, I'll sort of read the script first and then go to the description that they sort of have of the person and see if it lines up. Because sometimes they're a little bit off, and it's actually sometimes really fun when you're wrong, when you see a character and you decide, here's who this person is, here's who I think the writers are trying to get. And then you go to the description from the writer, here's who they think this person is, and you're slightly off. I actually find that to be the most fun, because now you get to sort of cherry pick little things from what you thought and bring it into their description. And it really helps like flesh out your character, I find. So that's my favorite thing. And then just reading the script a bunch of times. I think that helps to know where you're at in every scene, because for anybody listening that doesn't know, when you film anything, you're usually out of order. You're usually doing scenes from, if you're in one day and you have 5 scenes, the first scene is from day 1, the second scene is from day 9, the third scene is from day 8, and this 4th scene is from day 9 right after. Like, you're way out of order and doing weird stuff. So to read the script over and over, you get a real sense of what's happening at all places. So that's where I go. The script is my best friend. And then if I figure out who I think the character is, and once I found that, I do like to watch movies that are similar to who I think this character is or has a character in it. So if it was something that had to do with like someone being snarky, I'll watch something with like Ryan Reynolds or Nathan Fillion, so I can like pick up on how they do stuff, and then have that be something that like it's not that I'm copying them, but I get to go, okay, that's them, being a person and sort of making it their own. What can I take from their version of their own and bring it into like my version? So that's kind of my little process.
Yeah, that's cool. I get that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Do you have any other interest in the industry, such as writing, directing, or producing?
I love TV, movies, and films. Like there's something about just being in this industry that every part of it is cool. I always like to tell anybody who works on set that if you're at a bar and someone's sitting next to you and they ask you what you do, whatever your job is in film, if you told them that person next to you is excited and has more questions. So the best part of being in film is that you get to be a part of this storytelling. So I do really love the idea of being a part of sort of any piece of that. I'd love to be a writer. I'd love to direct at some point in my life, but I'm really happy with whatever opportunities are offered to me in this industry whenever they get offered, because like I said, I like being a part of the storytelling process. That's so awesome. Yes, and yes, whatever happens.
Yeah.
I think that's a good attitude to have about it. Yeah. I mean, whatever you're doing, just be thankful you're doing it, and a part of something as amazing 100%.
As that. Like there's, I mean, so many actors work so hard to get to where they are.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Unfortunately, not enough people stop and smell the roses. They're always trying to move to the next thing. So whenever you get to be on something, you get to go, this is great. This is awesome. I mean, whatever you're on, like whenever I get to do a show that's like, you know, a long series that's over the course of it, I get to be a part of something. Whenever I get to do a Hallmark movie, I'm so excited because I know how much the fans love a Hallmark movie. So you almost feel like magic when you film a Hallmark, because you're like, I know people are going to love this.
Right.
So like, there's so many great things about filming that I almost hope that more people stop and just enjoy what they're doing in film, because it's just it's the greatest job.
Yeah,
that's a great perspective. Love that.
I've always been interested in screenwriting. My dad a couple years ago got a screenwriting degree from the University of Georgia.
Oh wow.
And we're working on a Hallmark movie together.
If you need somebody, just give me a call. I'm available.
Sure. We'll definitely keep that in mind.
Beautiful. I'm excited.
Awesome.
Great. Yes.
We have some fun rapid fire questions to end off the interview.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Okay, so the first one is, do you have a dream vacation destination?
I like anywhere that's sunny with an all-inclusive hotel and bar and food. So that's, if it's sunny and has all-inclusive, I'll go there. But I've never been to New York, so that's up there as like,
oh, that would be a fun place to visit.
So my vacations are very much sit on the beach, drink Mai Tais and do nothing. But if I wanted to go somewhere, New York City is tops.
Nice.
It's been a long time. I went to New York. I think it was like right before I started 10th grade. So that was in 2009. And then I went on a school trip my junior year in high school, and we got to do more then, which was a lot of fun. We saw 3 Broadway plays. We went to Top of the Rock.
Oh, wow. You did it all. Yeah.
Did it all. Yeah.
I think we went to Chinatown.
Yeah.
Or Greenwich Village, one of those, and did the, bargain shopping and everything.
Yeah. Jealous. And that's what I want to do.
The Broadway plays we saw were American Idiot, which is the music of Green Day.
Cool.
And then Anything Goes, which is the music of Cole Porter, and Arcadia, which that was like a 3-hour long play.
That's rough.
It's so good. But you should definitely visit there someday.
That's my plan. Yeah, I'm excited.
Dream co-star on Hallmark and off Hallmark.
Dream co-star on Hallmark and off Hallmark. On Hallmark, I mean, I just love to work with Taylor again because I got to work with her once, so I'd just love to work with her a second time. And then off Hallmark, I mean, I think it's got to be Ryan Reynolds. Like, if I could ever work, I mean, he's a Vancouver boy, so if I could also work with him, that's got to be number one for sure.
That would be awesome. Ryan Reynolds is great.
Yeah, 100%.
If you could learn any language in a week, which would it be?
Ooh, both French and Spanish just sound so good. And I think that would be, I don't even know. I don't know which one, because I think being Canadian, like French is something that I've always wanted to be able to speak, because when people can, it's just an impressive thing. But I also think that like Spanish is such a beautiful musical language that I'd love that. So it's a toss up, but I think the Canadian in me has to jump forward, and I'll say French.
That would be great. I took French in school, and I have a friend from France. So
there you go.
Yes, there you go.
Then I could go to Paris and actually really enjoy it, not feel bad that I don't know anything.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you could only take one thing with you on a deserted island besides the essentials, what would it be?
Oh, okay. I'm on a deserted island by myself. I mean, if it's, I feel like I just want to say like, I don't know, Netflix subscription, but that's a tough one because I would just watch movies the whole time. But what would I bring besides the essentials? I mean, it's good. I mean, if I could bring, a DVD player with something to watch movies on the whole time. So,
Yeah.
Being on a desert island, people would come up, they'd be like, oh my gosh, you survived, 3 months on this desert island. Like, really?
Yeah.
That's only like 3 shows. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. I had Netflix.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, I'd be fine. So that's what I guess it's a bad answer, but I guess my Netflix subscription and something to watch it on.
Nice. All right. So if you could be any character in a TV show, who would it be and why?
Clark Kent in Smallville, because like that's absolutely just I mean, I don't know how else to explain. If I could play Superman in anything, I would. But if I could be Superman for 10 seasons, let's go. So yes, Clark Kent in Smallville, played wonderfully by Tom Welling.
Yes. He does a great job.
Does a great job.
Yeah. I think that wraps up our rapid fire. That was a lot of fun.
Amazing. Guys, it was so much fun to talk to you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Do you have any new projects coming up, and where can our listeners find you on social media?
On social media, you can find me at Mado Smith 21, MADO Smith 21, or you can search Madison Smith. That usually works. I have a couple movies that are currently in post-production, so hopefully those come out pretty soon. If you follow me on social media, I'll always post when those are coming up. But there's one I'm really excited about called Dating Wisdom. It's going to be on E! Network, so can't wait for people to see that. It's going to be very fun, but there's a few irons in the fire, so stay tuned, and I'm excited for people to see.
Oh yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
excited to watch.
Yeah, awesome.
We can't wait to tune in and watch.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. This was
a lot of fun.
It was a great time. Thank you very much.
All right, Hearties, Hallmarkies, and Sleuthers. I think that wraps up our interview with Madison Smith. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and have a great day or night wherever you are in the world. And we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.